Hi, everyone. We're going to give it a couple minutes, let some folks hop on, and then we will get started. Where's everyone coming in from today? We have someone from Dubai, we have Boston, we have Chicago.
Japan.
Wow, awesome.
I think that might be the furthest from me right now.
Yeah.
New Jersey's pretty far from Massachusetts, though.
Nice. Florida.
North Florida, otherwise known as Lower Alabama.
Or Georgia.
Or are you on the Atlantic side, Malcolm? All right, Jacksonville. Fair enough. Fair enough. I spent 8 years in the Panhandle, so I'm familiar with Lower Alabama.
Awesome.
Beautiful beaches, though. Beautiful beaches.
Well, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining the first community hour of the year. My name is Jenny, and I'm the Membership and Programs Coordinator here at Converged User Group. If you're new or not familiar with the user group, we are a community focused on connecting users and prospects of Dell CI and HCI technologies and solutions. We do this in a variety of different ways, including virtual reality programs, and in-person events. This is a way for us to bring members together to network, share best practices, and ideas. We have several really great programs coming up throughout the year. I'll touch on a few of them when we wrap up today. Some of them going to be in person. We will be back in DTW, so we're looking forward to that. But for today, just a few housekeeping items. We will be using the Q&A function and then also the chat box. So if you have any questions or you would like to make any comments on the conversation, please use those two functions. Lastly, we will have a survey at the end of today's program. This feedback is very useful to us. It helps us with future events, with content and ideas. So with all that being said, I will pass it over to David to get today's program started.
Fantastic. Thanks, Jenny. And thank you, everyone. Before we dive right in, I do want to thank our sponsors for making this possible. Thank you to Dell Technologies, VMware, and Intel. As always, we appreciate all of your support. And thank you, members, for joining us. Great conversation today. Great way to kick off calendar 2023. I'm joined with Tom O'Reilly, CTO at YBA Kanoo Group. Tom and I go way back. Tom, you've been working in and around IT transformation for some time now, and it's great to see you. Thank you very much. It was great catching up with you at VME Barcelona. So welcome back to the community hour. How you doing?
Thank you very much. Thank you, David. And thank you, Jenny. Yeah, it's great to be back. It's I spent some time on the other side of the table helping out in Dell as a part of the Converge user group, and now back as a customer. So really happy to be here and to share the story with the community.
Well, thanks. And I've been super excited to get your perspective back to the members, because it's kind of like a 360-degree loop up there. You've been at Kanoo Group a little bit of time now, so I guess what I'd like to start with is give members a little context setting, brief intro, background, description of Kanoo Group, your roles and responsibilities as CTO, and how long have you been in that position?
Yeah. So Yusuf bin Ahmed Kanoo is a 130-year-old family business based, headquartered in Bahrain, which is in the Middle East, in the Gulf. And we have operations across the Gulf. So UAE, United Arab Emirates, Oman, Saudi Arabia, Egypt. We have some things in India and South Africa. So we're pretty widespread. We're a family office, which is kind of like a mini conglomerate. So we have multiple business lines. We're in shipping, travel, logistics. We have a division focused on oil and gas, machinery, power equipment, So we're quite diversified. In addition to that, we have a large investment arm and a venture capital arm, which I've been lucky enough to work quite closely with. So really diversified, a huge number of different kinds of businesses. We have a software development company, an IT security company, so it really spans a lot of areas. I'm the Chief Technology and Data Officer for the group, joined about 2 years ago. And yeah, it's been a great journey. It's a very interesting company. There's a diversified workforce, working in the Middle East. We have people, local Bahrainis, Saudis, Emiratis, but we also have people from India, from different parts of Europe, from the US, from Canada. So it really is a big mix of people bringing all together, and yeah, driving the digital transformation in this company has been really interesting.
I can only imagine. It sounds like big challenges and an incredible array of things to address. Love to dig into this. If we start with when you took over, what did the environment look like? What did you inherit? And are there some lessons learned you might share with members as to like getting into a new role, assessing the situation and trying to prioritize?
Yeah. So I was brought in, the Chief Technology and Data Officer role was created new when I joined. And the reason why they wanted to do that is they basically had a traditional IT management and IT function running, but they knew that they had underinvested in technology over the years. So there was a need to see some dramatic transformation and change in the organization. So they brought someone a little bit more strategic in to really look at how to drive that digital transformation. When I joined, the environment I would classify as pretty legacy. There was legacy infrastructure, legacy applications. Even, we had stuff running on Server 2003 when I first arrived. A legacy, a traditional network architecture, a traditional approach to security. And so there was a huge opportunity for improvement, but it was, everywhere needed improvement. It wasn't just a certain area that needed focus. So there was a big challenge there, of understanding where are the burning platforms, which was things like the Server 2003, and where were things that we'd get to in year 2 and year 3. So when I first came in, just getting my head around this very large and diverse environment was the first step. And then, putting together a list of priorities to figure out where to focus. And we basically, we looked at a lot of different things, but the main themes were modernize the infrastructure and look to move to a hybrid cloud model, modernize the security so that we're secure. Middle East is a very big target for cyber attacks, and our company is fairly well known. The brand is very strong, so we become even bigger of a target. So that was a main focus of mine. And then we looked at things like, building out resilience of the organization. So when I joined, we didn't have a proper disaster recovery capability. So that was one of the priorities as well.
Busy. So how many, was consolidation also involved in this? Were you trying to get rid of, or are you required to keep data in certain, in all your different regions and countries that you're in?
Yeah, consolidation and modernization, definitely. So we needed to do an application rationalization, especially when it came to the very, very legacy applications. We put together a plan to get rid of those kind of immediately, and then figure out, what are the solutions to replace those going forward. So we were able to do that in a number of areas quite successfully. There was a number of applications, legacy applications running on old hardware, old software, non-supported, that we were able to retire in the first 12 months. So that was great. One of the main systems, our financial ERP, was one of the most legacy and at-risk systems that took a little bit longer to get rid of because it was, a critical system in a very complex environment. So replacing that was a journey. But we've been, over the past 2 years, we've replaced a number of systems. We retired many more. And we're definitely on the track to have that consolidation and modern infrastructure and applicational landscape that we need.
Yeah. And Tom, you to jump onto the modern infrastructure right away, you were very familiar with VxRail, CI, and HCI from your history. When we were talking earlier, you said this is a no-brainer. We need VxRail in here right away. That'd be a really quick, easy bang, move stuff over, put that fire out, and then start addressing the other stuff. That was easy given your history and your understanding. But the conversations you and I had back at the time and catching up, it sounds like your team wasn't quite there. So tell me a little bit about how you overcame that and got their confidence that HCI, this different technology, is the way to go.
Yeah.
And, how did you do that, and where are they now?
So full disclosure for the audience, I worked at VCE. I started in 2014, which was, the originator of the V block and the VX block, and, the creator of converged infrastructure, as basically a technology evangelist. And then once we launched the VxRail, I helped to launch the VxRail in the Middle East and Africa. So it's near and dear to my heart. And, I have a lot of passion for converged and hyperconverged infrastructure. So upon joining, to me, there was no question. We weren't going to replace our data center. We were going through, last year, we went through a data center refresh, and we were not going to replace our data center with a 3-tier infrastructure. That just didn't make sense to me. So, so I introduced the idea to the team and saying, this is the direction that I think we should go in. And there was some pushback. They had been using Hitachi storage, and I can't remember the vendor on the server side, but it doesn't matter. They were using a 3-tier infrastructure, and they were super comfortable with that. They had a lot of confidence that structure, that infrastructure, can do what they want to do, no issues, no downtime. And they were nervous about the concept of hyperconverged, and especially software-defined storage, because it was completely, new to them. We've been virtualized for years, but not on the storage side, and that was something that. I put my Dell hat on and pulled out some presentations that I had from when I was in Dell, and basically took them through. I was like, tried to sell the value proposition of, single vendor, one-stop shop, super simple to set up, super simple to manage, the access to the support that you need, and the power that, the Dell servers that have been engineered with the VMware engineers to have this really strong, powerful platform that can do anything we need. And I knew it would. It took some convincing, and it took a number of conversations to get them on board. And I think even once I convinced them, and maybe, they had to go that way because it was, I'm the boss, but, I think they were still a bit, nervous about when it came in, is this actually going to work, or is this going to fall over and we're going to get screwed and have to, go back to another plan. But overall, implementation went as smooth as it's supposed to. Migration was a piece of cake because it was coming from VMware already, so that was easy. And then the operations in the year that we've had it running has been nothing. There's nothing to do. It's just running. They're keeping it up to date, no problem. And everybody's been super happy. So the great result of that is that we have 3 main data centers in our environment. We have one in Saudi, one in Bahrain, and one in UAE, in Dubai. And that was in Saudi Arabia. Now this year we're due to refresh the data center here. And I didn't say a word. And in the budget for this year, it clearly says VxRail data center refresh. So it's clear that they're fully on board now, which is great.
Do you think they're seeing time that they weren't even aware that they were spending on the care and feeding, Do you think that there's a lot of things that they didn't realize that they were doing that they're now not doing, and that's freed them up? Is that an example, or is it a different angle? Is it just that you can throw almost all of your workloads at it and it just keeps taking it? Like where in the spectrum, what are the big things that are kind of wowing them?
Yeah, I think both of the things you said are very valid. I think, yeah, I mean, I spoke to the team recently about it to just gauge, how things are going. And, the fact that they just don't think about it, they don't have to touch it on a day-to-day basis because it's just working. And when they update it, it's just, basically a single click. I don't think, I think what you said is right. They didn't realize how much care and feeding was required. And now it's like, that's not a process anymore. It's a non-issue. At the same time, I mean, when we were replacing hardware that was, I think 5 or 6 years old with brand new Dell servers, with the latest Intel chips, it's going to be powerful, and SSDs, right? So it's going to be able to take a whole lot more applications and systems than we could ever do on the old stuff. So it's brilliant. Yeah.
So what do you have? Can you share some of the workloads that you've got running on VxRail now?
Yeah, I mean, we have everything. So not everything, but the majority of all of our infrastructure applications, all of our core business applications, most of them are Windows servers and SQL servers. We have, simple Active Directory, but the most intensive stuff is for our largest division, we have a system that's running on SQL. And what I'm understanding is that overall the performance has been quite better on this new platform. And it's a critical system, so that's perfect.
Are you guys ahead of schedule from where you thought you'd be because of the time freed up, or are you just able to chew through more?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're pretty much on schedule. So at the same time that we were doing this, I mentioned at the beginning that we were moving to a hybrid cloud model. And I think that was one of the critical things too. So we are still, utilizing our on-premise resources for things that make sense to be on-premise. But for things that don't necessarily need to be on-premise, we've started to more and more leverage the cloud. And we've created a strategic partnership with Amazon AWS. And so those two things together, I think those combined have made the agility and the speed increase. And just to mention, because I think it's really interesting, I mentioned that we didn't have a DR when I started, or a proper DR. And so when we went with the VxRail, we also started talking to VMware and Amazon about VMware on AWS. And we decided that the smoothest and easiest way for us to build a DR was on VMware on AWS. So we've now done that. We achieved that last summer, and it's been a really great project because we were able to leverage the VMware on-premise on VxRail and some not on VxRail yet, and the VMware in the cloud to have a seamless kind of standby solution that we don't have to pay a whole lot for. Versus either building out a proper DR or using like Amazon native services. So that's pretty cool.
That's great. I'm checking questions here. It looks like Ian's asking whether you're using VxRail with Smart Fabric services.
No, I don't believe we are. No, but maybe that's something we need to look into.
All right. I'd like to pivot a little bit to automation, Tom. Where is that in your journey or on your list of to-do items? Tell me a little bit about how you're thinking of that.
Yeah, so I'm super passionate about automation. The first thing, I think about 15 years ago, I started exploring it when I was an IT manager before I joined BCE. And we were looking to build out like a private cloud capability that was fully automated. While I was in BCE and EMC and Dell, I was a big proponent of automation and IT leading the automation charge, because I really believe that IT can show its value by showing how it can automate IT operations and infrastructure, networking, and all those things, and be able to demonstrate that to the business and say, listen, you can automate your business as well. When I joined Kanoo, we kind of took the opposite approach, because there were so many things to do on the infrastructure and networking side that just to build up the basics in the cloud and in the on-prem stuff. So we took the approach to approach the business first to talk about automation. So over the past year, we've executed a really great, started as kind of a proof of concept, a proof of value with robotic process automation. We brought it into one of our divisions, our shipping division, to look at, are there areas that are super repetitive and take a lot of time and just are not adding a huge amount of value, but just need to happen. And we identified a couple of use cases, and we were able to build out that proof of value. And then about maybe 6 months ago, they went into production. So they've been running for about 6 months in production now, and it's created a huge level of efficiency. I think we've saved about 3,000 man hours in the last quarter through these just two bots. And now the third bot just went live a couple of weeks ago. But now we're at a point where the infrastructure and operations teams are leveling out, like the big projects are done or almost done. And so now the next step is looking at two main things with automation. One is configuration management. So I'm exploring like technologies like Chef or Puppet to automate our configurations, and then general automation of operations, of our SOC, and of the infrastructure stuff. So yeah, it's not something we realized yet, but it's definitely a huge priority for me, because there's so much value in it. And we're a very lean team. So the more and more we can automate, the more beneficial it is for everyone. Because I'm sure, like a lot of people on the call today, everybody's stretched, everybody's working long hours. And if we can leverage some technology to automate and maintain those things, it will be, happy days for everyone.
Where you mentioned earlier that you've got a software company.
Mm-hmm.
Are you talking regularly with the developers there? Is there any needs that you anticipate? Are they developing on VxRail right now, or how's that working?
Yeah, so the operations are very separate. They're a completely separate company. So they don't work directly on any of our infrastructure, no. But yeah, I mean, we're working very tightly with them. I sit on the board of that company, so we're working with the management kind of from a strategic level. And right now, Kanoo represents about 50% of their business. So we're looking for them to grow so that we're not such a critical piece of their business. It's another area of transformation. We're trying to develop them because they, again, similar to the Kanoo story, they're a very traditional environment. They develop on traditional tools. They do a lot of stuff. They big Microsoft shops. They do a lot of stuff on .NET and with SQL. And so we're trying to encourage them to look at, containerization and modern database platforms, and we can leverage that by using those or hosting those technologies on the VxRail for sure.
That'll be neat to watch. I look for updates from you.
Yeah,
very cool. Another main topic that members like to hear about is security. It's as necessary. It's top of mind and everything. For you, who has security responsibilities at your company, and walk us through how that's laid out and how you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, so ultimately, I'm the top responsible person for security in the organization. And so it's something that I think about a lot, and something that, can keep me up at night. We had when I joined, like I said, quite a traditional approach to security. And it was, in many cases, especially when you think about the infrastructure and the applications, it was like it wasn't built in, it was an add-on. And so now, we've taken an approach, any new systems that we bring in or any new infrastructure that's brought in needs to have security built in. It needs to be pre-thought. One of the things that we have, and I don't know, how we compare. I think maybe we're a bit behind the curve, at least for the audience that's on this call, but we had a very traditional approach to really doing a really good job of securing our perimeter. But the reality of COVID and just life in 2023 means that the perimeter has changed fundamentally. And for us, it has, our users, of course, are no longer sitting within our data, our office perimeter. But more and more as we leverage cloud, we're fully on my Office 365, our perimeter is everywhere. And so we have been working really hard to figure out, what is the right approach. It's really tough. I've been struggling, to be honest with you, because there's so many products out there. There's so many people coming and telling you that they're, this is the tool that you need. And somebody else says, no, this is the tool you need. And actually you probably need both of those tools or maybe two others, who knows? So we've been putting together an overall security program. I mentioned to you before that we started the call, we just hired a virtual chief information security officer because we couldn't really justify a full-time resource at this time. But we have this strategic security advisor now with us that's helping us to define what a modern security landscape looks like. And, we're looking, it's a big challenge. There's a lot of layers to what's required to really secure. And as I mentioned, the Middle East, and the world, of course, but definitely in the Middle East, the number of attacks are increasing like crazy. And because Kanoo is a well-known name, it's been targeted. So it's a big concern, but good progress being made there, and still some work to do.
Are you looking at any air gap solutions, or is that down the road?
I don't think we really have a requirement for air gap. We're looking more. So right now, one of our priorities is around EDR. So upgrading the ability for us to protect our endpoints. And we're also looking at like CASB products, so Cloud Access Broker products. So we can secure, because we have more and more software as a service and applications hosted in the cloud. We want to be able to make sure that those are as secure as possible.
Do you think, Tom, with your infrastructure background, does that put you in a even or better position for addressing security? Because I'll qualify that a little bit. What I'm starting to see is a lot of folks who were historically infrastructure are now getting security added to that title and that responsibility. Is that, in your opinion, is that because that's a great progression, or is it just it had to go somewhere, so that's where it gets put? Where does it sit for this transition from just infrastructure to now thinking about security? Or is it just something that always happened and now it's getting a label?
Yeah, maybe a bit of that, maybe a bit that it's always happened. I mean, it's definitely, it's never not been an area of focus for me across my career. And like you said, there's a lot of work that I did in infrastructure. I think, yeah, it seems to be these days a natural progression because there's such a lack of resources in the security space. I saw an article that there's like 1 million cyber and security roles available in the US right now. Like, it's crazy. So I think people are seeing opportunities there because obviously the pay is great and the work, if you've been working in infrastructure or networking for the last 10 years, something new, it's something more interesting. So yeah, I think it's a bit of a natural thing, but also it's because we as infrastructure specialists have been doing this our whole careers.
That's great. Folks, we've got Tom for a little bit longer. If anybody's got a question, please chime in. Pardon me. While we're waiting for that, Tom, has your IT transformation strategy, from what you started with, has it changed over the past 18 months, or is it just, tell us about that?
Yeah, it's changed. I wouldn't say radically, but it has evolved quite a bit. When I started, we had 4 main focus areas. So one was IT operational excellence. So really to try to raise the bar of the way that we provide IT services to the organizations. One was around customer experience, digital customer experience. So how can we enable our customers to engage with us in a digital way? One was around data analytics, and one was around automation. So those were my 4 kind of main focus areas. Over the past 2 years, that's evolved, and I still have 4, but some of them are a bit different. So the pillars of the Office of the CTO in Kanoo now are data analytics still. That's the one that's sticking around. It's a critical area for us. We built out a data lake in the cloud, not on VxRail, but that's a key part of how we can enable the business to make better business decisions based on data. The second one is around enterprise architecture. So one of the areas that kind of has evolved is, okay, we actually need a really strong function around how we bring in new technologies into the organization. That goes to where they sit when we bring in a new application. Does it sit on-prem or does it sit in the cloud? How, ensuring that it follows all of our standards for security, for data compliance, for infrastructure requirements, everything. The third pillar is around cybersecurity. So this is obviously, we've discussed this. And with cybersecurity, it's about securing our environment and having the right technology stack, but it's also about improving the culture of the organization when it comes to cyber. So we want to, it's about awareness and enablement. And we had a conversation yesterday about it. We want to have, so we have 2,500 users. We want 2,500 sensors in our company sensing out, cyber risks. We're not sure if we should tell them that, but that's what we would like to achieve. So we need to, enable them, and we need to, educate them in order to do that. And the final area is around innovation. So we're setting up an innovation center of excellence where we can gather ideas from the organization on areas where we can, build new solutions or bring in a new application and try to drive that. Again, a lot of stuff we do is around culture, but building a culture of innovative thinking in the organization to kind of get things moving. So yeah, there's been an evolution over the 2 years.
I find these conversations very frequently turn around and it becomes a cultural people in a process thing. And Suzanne Pickett says very frequently, when it comes down to it, tech is the easy part. It's the people in the process that we all go through that we can 100%. Share and learn the most about.
Yeah, I mean, 100% agree. And my KPIs for this year are, our improvement of the culture of data in the organization, improvement of the culture of enterprise architecture in the organization, improvement of the culture of innovation, and improvement of the culture of cyber. So it's all culture. Like, yeah, the technology we got, we're good. We have a really strong foundation, but now it's about getting the people to change their mindset. And, in a 130-year-old company, we have a very strong culture that was set a long time ago. And so evolving that and bringing, the 2023 reality to that is a huge challenge, but it'll be great. It'll be a fun, thing to go through this year.
Yeah, it sounds like a fun challenge. Real quick, I'd like to circle back to, you mentioned about your workloads, as you're putting rigor around where you put the workloads.
Yeah.
I think a lot of members run into that, or either discovering that as they're rationalizing, or, are in a position that you're talking about, where as they bring these new workloads on, they need to figure out where to go. Do you have any lessons learned or best practices that you've established or you're uncovering or starting to crystallize for you that you could share?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't built any like policy documents or anything like saying, if this, then it has to be this. Every new requirement is a conversation that we have together, the infrastructure, the networking, security, and operations teams, to discuss, where should this best live. So, we consider a number of factors when we're thinking about that. So the first one is around, well, cost. What would it cost to host in the cloud versus what does it cost us to host internally, which is, low. The second one is around security. Are there security requirements that we can only fulfill on-prem, or maybe we can only fulfill in the cloud? We actually have an interesting case where there is an application that we have that has very specific security and access rights that we would struggle to deliver on-prem. So we have to do it in the cloud. Another area is what is the behavior of the workload? Is this a workload that is utilized, at a same percentage across the month or across the year? So a very predictable workload, or is this a very variable workload? Is it going to have really high peaks and really low valleys? And that will inform if it's a better fit for on-prem or in the cloud. And then the last thing is around like latency and user experience. We need to ensure that that is optimized. So those are the things that we consider.
A couple follow-ons. One, a lot of trend or hype was, cloud first. That's the strategy, and we're seeing that that's probably not the right way to phrase it. Perhaps. Did you have to undo any of that mental mindset from the really enthusiastic folks who were reading the headlines, or was that nothing that you had to address?
I think, it's a little bit different here in the Middle East than it maybe is in the US or Europe, in that the cloud adoption was pretty slow. We didn't get a cloud region in the Middle East until a couple of years ago. So it was an anti-cloud region for a long time, to be honest. Now we have Microsoft operates in the UAE and AWS operates here in Bahrain. So it's becoming more, but it's slow. The adoption is I would say slower than in most. So we didn't have that challenge. We didn't have those over enthusiastic people saying all cloud all day, shut down the data centers. So no, we've been able to have a more, I guess, rational or sane conversation around what is the best thing for us as Kanoo, and what's the best thing for our users and the group.
That's interesting. It might qualify the next question or the follow-on question I had for this. A lot of folks are finding that they're repatriating workloads from the cloud to on-prem because the economics are just that much better. Given that you really haven't had the big push for, the option was only there 2 years ago, I'll ask it, have you found that you put some things in the cloud and you're like, you know what, maybe that wasn't, and you needed to repatriate? Where are you on that?
Yeah, no, we have only been in the cloud since June. So we have limited workloads running there today. But I could see that. You think it's best for the cloud, but after 6 months, a year, you understand that actually this workload is super steady, it's super predictable, and it's a large server, large memory requirement or large CPU requirement or huge data, and actually the numbers work better on-prem. I could definitely see that we get to that point, but we haven't gotten there yet.
Do you were you thinking ahead and you put like little check marks for you to check in every 6 months and kind of a process so that you don't have to think about it, you can just reassess? Or do you think you'll just all of a sudden be thinking, hey, wait a minute, oops, I noticed that?
Yeah, no, so we have a local partner that we work with does the management of our cloud environment. And so we get pretty good reports from them on a monthly basis. So it is definitely something that I can see, that I'll keep an eye on. So as we get to that point, if we say, holy crap, there's, this thing is costing me more than a VX rail, then, we could, think about bringing it back in.
Cool. Well, Tom, thank you so much for your time. This has been a fantastic conversation. I'm looking forward to hearing from your journey as it progresses. We'd love to have you back and hear more. Good luck with your VX Rail deployment this year coming up. That's exciting. Congratulations. And congratulations on where you're at. Really neat to check in with you, and great to watch what's going on. Thanks for staying up with us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. It's been great.
It's been fantastic. Folks, thank you for joining us. Tom O'Reilly, CTO, YBA Kanoo Group over in Bahrain. And if you've got questions for Tom that you didn't get to ask, please send an email to memberservices@convergeusergroup.com, and Jenny and team will route that properly to Tom and get that squared away. Tom, have a good early Friday night for you, right? Is that the way this goes?
So much. That's it. Yeah, our weekend is Friday and Saturday, so it's Friday night right now. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing with us. It's great. It's great to see you. Jenny, back to you.
Thanks, Tom and David. That was a great conversation. Thank you again for joining us today. I'd also like to do a huge shout out to our sponsors, Dell Technologies, VMware, and Intel. As mentioned earlier, I did include a survey link to fill out. It's really helpful for us to get your feedback to let us know what future programs you would like to see. With that being said, if you do it, you will be entered into a drawing for a prize. We also have some great events coming up. I put our next community hour link in the chat. That will be on February 16th. And if you enjoy being a Converged member, if you enjoy events such as these, we would love for you to share these with your colleagues and your friends. So with all of that being said, thank you again for being a member of Converged and for joining us today. Take care, everyone.